All right, recording started. So, and welcome, Stephen. We got you just to the beginning, just as we started the recording. So, welcome to the first custodian community meeting of the year, and getting back into the swing of things after the holiday break. I'm going to post a link in chat with the notes. And I saw just before I started the recording, Kapil had posted a TF parse issue. Oh, that's no, that was the build. Never mind. Okay, so welcome back, everyone, after the breaks. Looks like we've got some new release stuff going through. There are only a couple things I wanted to highlight here to start. One is that we had some issues previously with Python 3.12 support. We had just a couple things just because of some deprecations in the standard library around distutils. We had to make a few small changes just to make sure that Custodian would still work under 3.12. And then Kapil, thanks for adding 3.12 to CI. So we should be, as far as we know, we are 3.12 compatible. If anyone hits any issues or has anyone on the call run into any lingering issues using Custodian with 3.12? No. Silence means success everywhere. So Python 3.12 should be good to go. And let us know if you have any issues. Stephen, I saw you join just as the recording was starting, and one of the points that you were asking about recently was the pending maintenance details. So actually, no, that was not yours.
Yeah, thank you for getting that approved and merged in, AJ.
Oh yeah, that was yours. Sorry, I was thinking. Wait a minute, that wasn't.
But yeah,
Yeah,
no, it was
you had a couple in
Shivaji,
there.
but I added a comment just trying to get this in before the next release. But yeah, thank you, AJ, for getting that
Yeah,
one
sure thing.
in. Appreciate it.
Thanks to you. Well, yeah, thanks for the ping, and to your crew for getting that work done. It's nice to have annotations with details, pending maintenance. It's nice to be able to see what the maintenance is. So good call there. And then, so that will be in the next release, along with just some of these other closed PRs here around AWS organizations resources. Thanks, Kapil, for just a bunch of things there with org, being able to look at organization accounts and OUs, and then being able to filter other resources by the organization unit, the OU that they're a part of. Is there anything you want to call out there, Kapil?
There's still some stuff that's coming, mostly with regards to setting SCPs and filtering on SCPs. I got sidetracked because we never added the fuzzy has statement matches, but that stuff for the set SCPs, we'll actually create the SCPs in the background, and you can directly attach it to the OU that you specify is the goal. So that stuff is coming. That also adds in. That also brings in we bring in the Modo dependency stack just because it makes it easier. Or testing with organizations is a little bit wonky because you have to muck with a real organization, and it's not as easy. So we're using Modo for our AWS organizations testing instead of the normal flight recording we do.
Yeah, I saw that we brought in Modo for part of that. Do you see much of a use that'll be something to consider when we're adding new resources, like whether it's a better fit for Modo or flight recording, or do we just still default to flight recording unless there's a big issue?
Well, I think the challenge with Modo is that it's just not high fidelity for a lot of the edge cases. Like even when I was doing organizations, like Modo has resource group tagging support, but it doesn't support organizations, even though the actual API does. So like there's all these little gotchas when you're dealing with some of the pervasive integration or edge cases or stuff, and it's I think I would still tend to lean towards flight recording, but if folks want to use it, it's available. Just be aware that it's got downsides with regards to fidelity.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking about it more from the perspective of contributor docs, like, do we need to mention Modo? And it sounds like probably not, because if you need it, it'll be because you ran into an issue with the flight recording stuff. Okay. Thanks. So that was those were the big bits, the OU, the pending maintenance details, and just tidying up some of the Python 3.12 support, and then a new release being close. Does anyone have any particular questions or issues, PRs to raise, concerns?
I have a separate issue I wanted to talk about this time. Not specifically about this.
Okay, well, now's probably the time for it. So what?
Yeah, I was gonna ask. You know how we do access denied as part of annotation when we hit a bucket that does not grant or that blocks a specific role. In this case, custodian. I was kind of curious if we could do the same thing for SNS SQS, because we identified a bunch of resources that have been like denying access to us, and it's basically like a black box. And there was some talks about trying to like expose or surface those resources up, and maybe trying to like get those fixed manually.
Okay, so we list the SNS. So effectively, this is the difference. Effectively, augments fail.
Yeah.
And we're really just calling like get topic attributes and get queue properties, and that's being denied.
Yeah, so it fails on all the resources in that specific account. Like the policy bombs are right there, and the other resources also go unevaluated.
Wait, is it about the embedded policy, or is it about the IAM role for custodian in that context?
It's about the embedded resource-based policy. So, for example, if someone creates an SNS topic and they attach a resource-based policy that says deny everything except XYZ role, as soon as custodian hits that resource, the policy fails and all the SNS topics in that account go unevaluated.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, yeah, go ahead.
So you're saying, okay, I'm just trying to think of like how we would handle in a general case. Like, would we? Because I mean, this is an issue with really any augment.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe we could do list first and then in augment just catch for access denied in general.
Well, what would you do if you had that list? With the problem is almost all the any other actions or filters are probably going to fail. So you would have a separate policy just to notify on like the existence of those.
Yes, similar to like how we could do it for S3. Like if we filter for C7 and denied method, that would like give me a list of buckets that fall in that category.
Yeah, the challenge is that if we suddenly add those back in, the existing policies would effectively break. Like I think we'd have to do some sort of like query option to be able to toggle this behavior. Because otherwise, if there are topics and queues with embedded resource policies and they are in a they're being denied by the resource policy, if we suddenly enable them, then the rest of like the existing filters, existing policies against those resources would probably start bombing.
Yeah.
Wait. Actually, let me take this back. So right now, the policy errors. Does the policy error or does it just skip those?
It errors.
Okay. Well, then in that case, I guess we're not really. There is no compatibility constraint.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, got it. Yeah, I think it depends on the resource type, but for SNS and SQS specifically, I looked at these two resources. The policy fails completely.
Yeah, and that does seem conceptually similar to what we're doing with S3. You're right that we put the denied methods. I'm wondering how generally we can cover that, like during the policy run, like before we get to filters.
We could do it inside a query. Like, I don't know if we would say access denied. I would say like augment denied because we don't really like. We have to be generic about it, and we don't like. It's a little bit special in that way. we could populate some sort of augment denied, and potentially, I do wonder about making it something explicit where you have to, because like
Could see that.
you really want to run a separate policy just for those things.
Yep.
And you're right, we wouldn't want to
Let me take a
patch.
step back. What is the goal? So you've got something that's denied, and currently it barks the policy. Is the goal to find all, like, continue with the non-denied things, or is the goal to deal with handle the denied?
I think the goal is to deal with both. First thing would be to proceed with evaluations of all the resources that are not denied, and then potentially another piece would be to surface up the resources that are like blocking the roles in general. Because right now, once the policy fails, it like doesn't look at all the resources present in that account because of
So what would be nice is maybe put together a GitHub issue, and it would also be interesting to look at what one of these resource policies looks like obviously sanitized, but is it? Yeah, I'm just trying to understand. Is it like explicitly only allowing like a known role to access everything, and it's like a default denying everything else type of thing, or
yes. I'll go ahead and write a GitHub issue for this.
Yeah, it does seem like a cool use case, but you're right that we don't want to be able to allow, if the initial enumeration fails, like if a list or the basic describe fails, we still want a policy to bomb there, right? So it would just be on the augment, like you're saying, Kapil.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. And I think we could probably handle it generically inside of like query.py around the describe source. Although I don't recall, I think in the case of SNS SQS, there's I'm trying to go look at the code. I believe it's actually something custom, and there are describe sources for that. Because that was a little bit wonky. Oh no, they're actually pretty. Never mind. They use detail spec and enum spec. Or SNS does. SQS does something weird because it has to. But we should be able to handle it. Oof. Yeah, so for SQS, we will probably have to deal with it directly.
What is this? Sorry, what is this for? Is this for the notify action? I kind of missed the context.
It's about
SQS.
it's about resources like SNS and SQS resources. I mean, I think generally the question is about like, hey, resources that have embedded IAM policies potentially can deny access to the custodian role in the account.
Okay.
In which case, the policies are typically failing.
Yes. You can see this issue with S3 access, pretty much anything with an access policy, right?
Yeah. I mean, S3, we handle it specifically by like populating a denied attributes method. With SNS and SQS, like on the other ones, we don't do any special handling, and so they typically the policy just barfs when it's doing the
Got it. Whereas S3 will throw an error on one bucket and then proceed to the next one, kind of thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Got it. Understood. Makes sense.
Yeah. So, what was your last point, Kapil, on that?
I think so let's create the issue and let's have a discussion there. I think that's probably the best way, because I think if we handle it generically, I think there's I think we can try doing some generic handling. SQS is going to need a specific implementation on it. I think there's a separate question though on whether or not the policy wants to see all those things by default. Like and I think that needs to be like some form of query-based behavior, query option on the policy-based behavior, like whether or not it sees the denied ones or not. Like show me denied, show me non-denied, I think is going to be some sort of thing that you'd have to specify, because if you see the denied with no attributes, then it's like almost useless, because none of the rest of the policy's actions or filters will likely work if they're using an API against that resource. Actually, what I guess you could still delete them, right? Even if you can't see them.
Like it depends on what is getting blocked. If like there is a star, a deny star, except a certain role, then technically we can't do anything.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, that does seem like a special sort of broken case if you're allowed to delete the queue but not see its attributes. Seems kind of tricky, but totally possible. IAM is fun. All right, good one. So Pratyush, you said you were going to open an issue on that one, though?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'll write all the details that I have and file the GitHub issue.
Cool. And then any others?
Yeah.
Any other?
The fun stuff here was that even AWS config is not able to see those resources. So in config CMDB, those resources don't exist. And I think it also depends on when the resource-based policy gets applied, meaning once the resource gets created, if config is able to look at it, and then the user applies a restrictive resource-based policy, then it appears in config, versus if you apply the policy at the time of the creation of the resource. Config doesn't have anything. So.
Yep, IAM is fun.
Yeah, and it's a good point about having switches in the policy for that, because I know we've gotten questions about things like the S3 checking public access blocks. It's like, if you can't see the data, is that a good thing because it's locked down, or is that a bad thing because you can't tell that it's blocked? Or yeah, gets tricky. All right. So Stephen, I know you had some other questions. I know we went back and forth a little bit on another pull request on. It was on resolver rules. I think we could probably catch up separately on that. But if anybody has other issues or PRs or general questions to go through, we've got time.
Yeah, thanks for the comments on that one, AJ. I'll haven't had time, but I'll circle back on that one and address the stuff you're talking about.
Cool. Yeah, thanks. We'll talk through that one a bit. Yeah, I wasn't sure if we were going to need to break out that resolver rule into a separate resource or not, but yeah, we'll talk through it in the PR. Thanks. And Pratyush, a good example on the S3 we have. I'm wondering if that's worth pulling into a doc somewhere, or maybe as part of this other issue, if we have a graceful way to catch the errors, if we should have some example policies showing what to do about them. Because it's, I don't know if it's super obvious to people that you should have a filter like that to look for the denies. And then once you see it, you think, oh, it makes sense.
Yeah, I think we should add it to the docs, because technically, if like people are not looking at the resources file, this might like go unnoticed.
Yeah, that's true. Good call.
What day are we planning the upgrade or the release?
Good question. I was trying to get some of these SCP things in. So hopefully this week. What day is a little bit unclear. If it's going to someday not named Friday, I would say.
Okay. The
Uh,
SCP stuff, is that like a new
there's a bunch of new resources around org accounts and org units and
Okay.
org policies. And there's part of that is also being able to use Custodian to do like SCP enforcement on different parts of the org via OU assignment to SCP assignment to OU.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we had some of our leadership is asking. Basically, we want to upgrade the C7N on our side, so we're just trying to get an idea of when we think it's going to be. So we're thinking probably end of this week, but not Friday. Yeah, I will relay that info.
And that was because you all were looking for the pending maintenance details primarily?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
gotcha.
we're doing ticketing based on that, and we don't have that feature right now, so people are getting alerts for any kind of maintenance like OS upgrades and just or just patch updates and stuff, just small maintenances, and really we want to target it. Yeah, so this will really help and kind of reduce the noise with a good amount of customers. Yeah. So yeah, we'll I guess I'm gonna relay like I'll just say Thursday for now, and then yeah, if we get blocked on anything, could you guys let us know like in the channels if we're gonna be delayed, or do you want me to reach out in the channels and just say, hey, where are we at, if it gets moved out or anything?
Sounds good. If you don't get I'll try to ping you if there's anything directly. I'll ping you directly if there's anything on the release.
Okay, cool. Dude, yeah, thank you. Yeah, otherwise, yeah, I'll reach out in the development channel or something like that just to see where we're at. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you both. Thank all of you. Is there anything else to cover during this meeting?
So the Python 3.12 support, just quick question on that one.
Mhm.
So is that like when you explicitly specify the Python version? Because like we use mostly periodic mode, right? And I think that
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
This
like
is
3.11,
it's
right?
more about like what your host Python is,
Okay,
and what packages we publish,
got it.
versus and making sure that we test with like that CI runs with it and that you can install it. Because previously, if you had Python 3.12 and you try to do pip install custodian, it wasn't going to work. So
Oh,
this
got
is
it.
more about being compatibility with the host Python. In terms of Lambda, I don't think they have.
Yeah, last I knew they only went up to 3.11.
Oh, actually, never mind. December 14th.
They have? Oh, they did? Okay.
They did.
Okay. But then we might not. Oh, so that might be a follow-up on our side then, as to okay, yeah, so they got 3.12. So maybe that is a follow-up. I'm not sure if we allow that through our Lambda config when we're deploying. Might
Easy
still
fix.
be worth doing.
So like with this update, that shouldn't affect how, if we deploy something, it should, like by default it uses 3.11, right? So it shouldn't have any effect on the default Python.
Yeah, I think that was a pretty recent change. So we will periodically have add runtime support or change the defaults for those policies that get deployed as Lambda functions. But yeah, we haven't done that for 3.12 yet.
Okay, makes sense. Got it. Thank you, guys.
Although that's probably a good discussion for a meeting like this, is how far behind a new runtime should we expect to add that support for custodian and potentially make it a default? I mean, the latest few Python releases have been adding what should be pretty noticeable performance improvements. Not that that's typically like a blocker issue for custodian policies, but it could be worth trying to push that stuff forward. Anybody have opinions one way or the other on that?
Yeah. Well, so if it just recently got, I don't know, approved by Amazon, I don't know, maybe there's like we can do a couple month window or a few month window or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think waiting a quarter seems reasonable. This
Yeah.
is pretty shiny new. Like this is less than 30 days.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
we add it as an option and then wait to make it a new default or something. Then we're like one back is the default, or yeah, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, with 3.11, there was some performance stuff that was significant that made it worthwhile to switch to the default. With 3.12, I think there's slightly less of the shiny. But I think general notion of wait a quarter seems reasonable.
Yeah.
Seems good. Cool. Good question though, Stephen. That's worth clarifying because you're right. I'm saying Python 3.12 is a pretty without the clarification there, and that was helpful. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
All right. Any other topics?
Something that's coming. So we've been doing a security audit with CNCF, and they flagged that so we've been trying to get to a higher full release automation and salsa stuff, and they flagged that because we're not generating provenance in our CI pipelines, that we can only be salsa level 0, which we want to get to level 3, like no humans in the release process. So currently trying to add that to one of our separate repos, TF parse, and trying to see if we can get that working. But the general notion here is that all the release artifacts are generated in CI, and that there's a signed metadata about the release that's non-tamperable with. And this is all just to get us to, I don't know if folks are familiar with salsa. It's here, I'll drop a link. It's this thing, but it's really just about creating better trust around software artifacts in general. It's all like supply chain security stuff. So we want to, I think, try to improve our release automation to also generate the provenance attestations that this standard cares about. So that work is good to be in progress in the background on release engineering stuff.
Cool. Thanks. So you're saying that that's TF parse looking at doing that initially, but the idea is if it was going forward usefully there, that we would expand it to other projects under the custodian org.
Yep.
Cool.
That's the goal.
Cool. Good call. Thanks.
Oh, and this is also, we're also doing a password list publishing to PyPy as part of that as well. So most of PyPy, all the repos, all the PyPy projects have been moved to a Cloud Custodian org, and password list publishing has been added to a few of those repos. So we're going to be trying to get all the credentials and secrets out of CI entirely. So this in addition to the provenance stuff, also getting package publishing automated and without using passwords.
Cool. That's exciting. All right, so that's some good work on the release engineering front. We've got some pending issues, some work in progress on pull requests, both in custodian and elsewhere. And that feels like a pretty good wrap for now. Does anybody have any parting thoughts? Anything else you just remembered? Nope. All right.
Good
Well,
here. Thank you, guys.
all right. Well, Happy New Year. Welcome, welcome back. Thanks everybody, and
Thank you.
we'll talk to you in a couple weeks.
Happy New Year.
See ya.
Thanks. Take
Thanks
care.
all. Bye.